Let's learn about hair porosity together. I really felt like I was in science class today. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel where we focus on growing healthy, natural hair. Today is going to be all about porosity. I've gotten a few questions about what porosity is and how it affects how you should be styling your hair and what kind of products you should be using for your hair depending on your porosity level. So we are going to go over all of that. I am going to do a porosity test and talk about the accuracy of the actual test. And let's just go ahead and get started. So we'll get started with what porosity actually is and why it's important. So the porosity of your hair is what affects the hair's ability to pass oil and moistures through the cuticle to the cortex. So if you have low porosity hair, your cuticles are pretty tight together, and it doesn't really allow the oils and moisture to easily pass through the cortex or through the cuticle to the cortex. If you have medium porosity hair, then your cuticles are a little less tight together, and it makes it easier for the oil and moisture to reach the cortex, but then it also stays there a little bit longer. And if you have high porosity hair, then the cuticles are much wider and it allows the moisture to easily come into the hair, into the cortex, but it also allows it to easily be released from the hair. So let's just talk about why that's actually important. So for hair to stay healthy and hydrated, water, oils, and other moisturizing products have to be able to pass through the cortex. Or have to be able to pass through the cuticle to the cortex. But if the cuticles are too close together and it's not easy for the water and oils to penetrate to the hair, then it's harder for the hair to actually get the moisture that it needs. And then on the other hand, if your cuticles are too widely spaced, then the hair has a harder time retaining moisture and staying moisturized. So what actually causes low or high porosity hair to happen? So a lot of it is due to genetics, and if it is due to genetics, then it's something that you will just have to live with and try to alter your routines or products to better fit your porosity level. But there are other things that can affect your porosity level. So if you are blow drying your hair or bleaching your hair, straightening it, overwashing it, or using harsh products over time, this can cause your cuticles to change and it can affect the actual porosity level of your hair. So another thing that can affect this is your exposure to sun. So if your hair is overly exposed to the sun, then it can affect your porosity level as well. So if you do notice that you have low porosity hair, then there are some things that you can do to change how you're actually treating your hair to make it a little bit more healthy, and that could help you to reach medium porosity hair. But if it is due to genetics, then again, there isn't really much that you can do to change it. So let's just go into each level to get a better understanding of the characteristics of it, because I think going through this kind of assessment is a better test than actually doing the float test. So just next time you do your hair, think about these questions or characteristics to kind of understand what your porosity level may be. So let's start with the characteristics of low porosity hair. So if you have low porosity hair, you likely notice that when you apply hair products, the hair products tend to sit on your hair and they don't really absorb very easily. It's also hard for water to saturate your hair. So while you're washing your hair, when you put your hair under the water, it tends to just roll down your hair, and you actually, it takes a little bit more for you to actually feel your hair becoming wet. The last characteristic is that it takes a long time for your hair to dry. So if it's taking days for your hair to dry, then you definitely have low porosity hair. It takes my hair about 2.5 to 3 hours after I've applied very moisturizing products to my hair for my hair to dry, which I actually think is not a very long time for curly hair to dry. So I don't think that I would fit in this category. So let's go on to medium porosity hair, where I think my hair actually fits. So for the characteristics of medium porosity hair, your hair is easy to style and can hold styles for a good length of time. Your hair takes color well. Your hair tends to look healthy, shiny, and glossy, and it doesn't take too long for your hair to dry. So like I said, my hair I don't think takes too long to dry. When I style my hair lasts, if I am actually keeping it in a scarf overnight, it lasts for about 5 days. So I think that that is a good length of time. I have not colored my hair in a long time, but when I did get color, I think I was actually in the low porosity level, and it took a little bit more for my hair to actually take to color. But so far, since I've been taking better care of my hair, I do think that it has looked healthier and shinier when I'm using good moisturizing products. And that is why I think that I am in the medium porosity hair level. But let's go ahead and look at high porosity now. So the characteristics of high porosity are water and other moisturizing products are quickly absorbed into your hair. Your hair tends to break easily. Your hair tends to be frizzy and dry, and it doesn't take much time for your hair to dry. And all of this makes sense based on what we learned about the cuticle and how this, when you have higher hair porosity, that means that the cuticles are very wide and moisture is coming in and it's just going right back out. So that fits very well with the characteristics of high porosity hair. So if you do experience those, then you most likely do have high porosity hair. So let's look at different things that we can do if we do have low or high porosity hair to make it easier for us to style our hair, to retain moisture, and to actually absorb moisture. So let's start with low porosity hair first. If you have low porosity hair, then you should use protein-free conditioners, and this is because they are less likely to cause product buildup, but also they are more easily absorbed into the hair. Another way to make it easier for conditioners to be absorbed into the hair is to apply conditioner while your hair is very wet. So when your hair is very wet and you're applying conditioner to it, it dilutes the conditioner, making it more of a liquidy consistency, and this makes it easier for the conditioner to be absorbed. You should look for ingredients like glycerin and honey in your shampoos and conditioner, but you should also try to avoid products that have a lot of oils in them, because the oils kind of block the product from being penetrated into the hair. So lastly, you should also apply heat while you are conditioning your hair. So if you have seen some of my other videos, then you know that I always put on my steam cap after I put my plastic cap on my head when I'm deep conditioning my hair. And this is just something that I do because it helps the moisture to absorb into your hair while you are conditioning your hair. Now let's look at high porosity hair. So if you have high porosity hair, you should look for products or shampoos and conditioners with ingredients like butters and oils in them, because these help to moisturize the hair. You should use leave-in conditioners and sealers because it helps to retain moisture. And you should use a heat protectant product on your hair. So apply this product before you blow dry your hair, or you use other heat styling treatments. And this can protect your hair from heat damage, which I recommend for any porosity level. And then lastly, you should avoid hot water when shampooing and conditioning your hair, which is something I always do as well. If I am conditioning my hair and I'm rinsing that conditioner out, then I always use cool water because it helps to eliminate frizz. So all of this makes sense because when you have high porosity hair, you are getting moisture very quickly, but it releases out very quickly. So again, using the LCO locket, using the LCO method is probably something that will be very beneficial if you have high porosity hair as well. So now that we have a better idea of what porosity means, how we can gauge what our porosity level is, and things that we can do to alter our routines based on our porosity level, let's go ahead and try the porosity level float test. So the one thing that I want to say about the float test is that sometimes it's not as accurate as people think it may be, because your hair tends to already have oils on it. So if you have oils on your hair, oils tend to float in water, so your hair is just automatically going to float. So you do want to make sure your hair is very clean when you are doing this. I actually took 2 strands of hair out of my head earlier today, and I washed it with dishwashing solution to make sure I'm getting all of the oils out. So I'm going to try it with those 2 strands first, and then I'm going to pluck a strand out of my head after that, and I'm going to test that strand to see if I get a different result, because my hair has a ton of oil on it right now, a ton of moisturizing products, so it should affect how it actually floats in the water. So let's go ahead and get started with that now. All right, so I just grabbed a base and I filled it up with room temperature water. And these are the 2 strands of hair. This is the first one, and this is the second one. You can see that. And these are the 2 that I cleaned with dishwasher solution, or not dishwasher, with dish cleaner. And I'm just going to sit it in there, and we're going to watch and see. So they actually are floating, and it looks like we should give it a few seconds here to see if it sinks. So it looks like, based on the test, that I would have low porosity hair, but like I said, the characteristics of low porosity hair do not fit what I experienced, so I would actually go by the assessment. And I have read a lot of articles saying that the float test actually isn't that accurate for a number of reasons, and I believe that. So one article that I read says that hair in general will almost always float in water. Hair coated with conditioner and or styling products will encourage hair to sink. Surface tension can cause objects that are denser than water to float, and your hair strands may have more than one porosity. So I just plucked this long piece of hair from my head, and this has tons of product on it, so just gonna throw that in there and see what happens there. So I don't know if you can see this, but it's been a few minutes and the hair is pretty much still at the top. It started to sink a tiny bit, but it is still up there. And that would mean that my hair is low porosity, but I don't really know if I trust the actual float test. I'm going to go by the characteristics that we went through, and based on that, I fit medium porosity. So if you go through those characteristics and find what fits your hair best, then you know how you should alter your routine. So that was that. I know that there are other tests that you can try, which I don't think are very accurate either. So there is a test where you can just pull your hair out, spray it with some water, and see if the beads of water sit on your hair. If they sit on your hair, then you have low porosity hair. If it quickly absorbs, then you have high porosity hair. But again, that just doesn't seem very accurate to me either. So I hope that this video helped you to understand hair porosity a little better and help you to gauge what kind of products or routines you should be using when you are styling your hair. If you did find this helpful, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, I will see you next time.